With the outrageous prices in the Cologne Major store, I had one question. Can you actually make any money buying these? Spending $300 on just one sticker seems insane, but what if you could resell it for $400? I was convinced the answer was no, but the results I'm about to share might surprise you. To answer this, I pulled data from two sources. The first was VolatileSkins.com, a website created by Numbers, the developer behind Skin Ledger. It tracks the in-game price history of every sticker in the Cologne Major store, letting you see how prices have changed since May 24th. Once the stickers became tradable a week later, it also started to track their Steam market prices. If you want to plot multiple stickers on the same graph, you can check out the compare page, and there's even an arbitrage tab that highlights the biggest price differences between the in-game store, Steam, and marketplaces like CSFloat. It's a fantastic free tool, so I'll leave a link in the description if you want to explore further. For this video, however, Steam prices won't really matter, since you can't cash out your Steam balance. Instead, I used the price history data from Skinswap, which tracks the cheapest daily listings on both Skinswap and CSFloat, and that distinction ends up making a huge difference. You'll see why that's important in just a moment. This video's sponsor, Skinswap, is giving you a skin worth up to $50 entirely for free whenever you do your first trade and use my referral code. If you want to refresh your loadout, you can trade your skins for brand new ones in just a couple of seconds. Plus, their market tab now integrates cheap listings from Chinese sites so you can access the best prices without the need for a Chinese ID or bank account. They accept deposits via crypto, MasterCard, and Visa. If you want to cash out, Skinswap makes that simple too, with instant sell options to PayPal or crypto. On top of that, they run free daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways with the chance to earn extra entries simply by trading. Use the link below for a 3% lifetime sales bonus and a free skin worth up to $50. Big thanks to Skinswap for supporting the channel. Using those sources, I put together this table. I kind of selected 2 random stickers from each rarity, 1 autograph, and 1 team sticker, and recorded as much pricing data as possible between May 24th and July 6th. For each day, I've included both the in-game store price and the cheapest third-party listings. Although the stickers were released on May 22nd, VolatileSkins only began tracking prices on May 24th, so I don't have reliable data for those first 2 days. Then, as expected, there's a 7-day gap before the stickers became tradable. If you notice any other grayed out cells, it's simply because there wasn't a reliable data point that day. Either there were no listings or the data wasn't available. Fortunately, there are very few of those, so they won't really affect the results. I also tried to choose a mix of stickers. There are high demand picks like Donk, Falcons, and Zywoo, alongside less popular options like Wicadia, Big, and Team Liquid, to see if there's any noticeable difference between them. However, we can't simply compare the prices on the same day. Every sticker has a 7-day trade hold after purchase, so the price that matters is whatever it's worth a week later. To account for that, I shifted all of the in-game prices forward by 7 days, which you can see in this second table. In other words, the dates listed now represent the day that the sticker actually becomes tradable, making it a much more accurate comparison. For this part, I've only included CSFloat prices, since it's the primary Western marketplace for selling skins. The columns labeled with specific stickers show the final profit or loss, taking into account 3% fees, 2% to sell, and 1% to withdraw. Depending on the sale value and your currency, your CSFloat fees may be closer to 5, so these numbers are actually a little generous. Using that data, here's how the gold and holo stickers performed over time. The breaks in some of the lines are simply days where pricing data wasn't available, but the result is pretty clear. Aside from a brief window where the Falcons gold could be resold for a profit, every sticker spent almost the entire last month below zero, meaning most of the time you'd have lost money buying it to resell a week later. For the cheaper stickers, the story is a bit different. Most of the time, they hovered around the break-even point, but towards the end of June, there were a few days where they were profitable. There are a couple of important caveats though. The CSFloat data I'm using is based on the cheapest listings each day, not completed sales. So for example, the Wicadia foil was listed at around $9 early on, but I don't believe any actually sold at that price, which can make the data a little misleading. Then there's the Big Clan foil. You can clearly see the date's price skyrocketed following their incredible 16-round streak comeback, but hype like that doesn't last. If you had bought the sticker at its peak, you would have lost a ton of money trying to resell it a week later. These kinds of spikes are driven by short-term excitement, they're almost impossible to predict, and they're not something you can consistently build a strategy around, since iconic moments or matches may only occur a few times per tournament, and you'd have to be buying a week in advance. I'm giving away an AK-47 Vulcan in Field Tested this month. For your chance to win, simply like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. I'll pick the winner on July 31st. Good luck. Now, you can improve your margins by using the Steam Balance Boost method, which can reduce the purchase price by up to 30%. If you're not familiar with it, I explain exactly how it works in this video. Applying that 30% discount to the in-game store price gives us this updated data and these new graphs. Unfortunately, even this strategy doesn't change the overall picture very much. It does reduce the variance and helps limit your losses, but in most cases, it isn't enough to turn an unprofitable flip into a profitable one. So far, looking through all of this has pretty much confirmed my initial suspicion. Buying these stickers directly from the in-game store just isn't a good way to make money, which does make it interesting that people are still spending so much on them. Of course, there are a few other reasons for it. Some players genuinely want to apply the stickers, others are buying as long-term investments, and the prices of gold stickers are also impacted by these souvenir conversions. That said, there is another strategy you can use if your goal is to make money flipping these. Instead of buying them in-game, you could buy them directly from third-party marketplaces. Besides being a sponsor of the channel, I like using Skinswap because they essentially middleman access to cheap Chinese listings. Many people are aware that skins can often sell cheaper on sites like Buff and Upin because the extra liquidity of the Asian market often drives prices down, but it can be hard to actually use these sites unless you're a Chinese resident. Here you can buy them without that hassle. To give you a few real examples, I purchased a couple of Holos for $13.71 each and then was able to resell them for about $23. I also picked up some Munacy Holos around the $15 mark and resold them for about $29. At a cheaper price point, I bought big Holos at $5 and resold for $7. That's not a huge profit dollar-wise, but it's still a 25% margin even after fees, which is hard to complain about. If we plot that same data using Skinswap purchase prices instead of the in-game store, again offset by a week to match when these stickers become tradable, the results look much more promising. With that said, it's still far from a guaranteed strategy. The Don Gold lost money for more than half of the month, and for both of the Holos, profitable opportunities were actually quite rare. Most of the time, they simply hovered around break even. The Falcons Gold performed much better, but I see that as more of an outlier. It's one of only 3 Falcons Major Stickers, the team had a huge amount of hype behind them, and they obviously won the tournament. If we look at the CSFloat sales data, only 9 of these stickers actually sold during this period. Liquidity is fairly low, and that's an important limitation because you probably couldn't repeat this strategy at scale since there's simply not enough buyers on the other end. On some of the cheaper stickers, once again with the exception of Big Clan's insane matchup, there weren't any consistent opportunities either. Before I give my final thoughts, there's a few details about the data that I want to mention. For the in-game prices, I always try to use the cheapest price available each day. Sticker prices in the store change frequently, potentially every 15 minutes, and can vary dramatically within the same 24-hour period. For example, on May 28th, the Thunder Down Under Holo was available for as little as $13.47. But at another point that same day, it peaked at $141.85. VolatileSkins only appears to record between 1 and 4 price snapshots per day, so there were almost certainly additional buying opportunities that weren't captured in the data. That said, consistently timing those price swings would be extremely difficult. Another thing to keep in mind, especially with gold stickers, is that their prices appear to be influenced by the souvenir conversion system, while the rest of the sticker shop is unaffected. If Valve uses a similar system in future majors, buying gold stickers early, before souvenirs become redeemable for that team or player, could create better opportunities. The strategy could also yield better results if you don't sell exactly 7 days after buying. Most people want to flip as quickly as possible, but being a little more patient could improve your return. The Team Liquid paper, for example, had a very volatile price, so if you timed your purchase and sale well, you could achieve a better margin. On the other hand, that doesn't always work. Looking at the ZywOo Holo, prices across every marketplace trended down for weeks. In that case, holding the sticker for longer would likely have only increased your losses. In fact, that's exactly what happened to me. I probably should have bought Nico instead, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. Finally, this analysis is primarily based on just 8 stickers. I would have loved to include more, but manually collecting and organizing hundreds of data points already took long enough. So to answer our main question, is it possible to profit by reselling Cologne Major stickers? Yes, but probably not in the way most people expect. Buying stickers directly from the in-game store with tokens is almost never profitable. If you happen to buy a sticker before a huge upset or unforgettable clutch, there's a good chance you could resell for a profit. But those moments are rare. Using the Steam Balance Boost method can improve your odds, but in most cases it simply reduces your losses rather than turning them into profits. Lower price stickers also tend to perform better than the headline golds, largely because the entry cost is much lower and they have higher liquidity. If you go down the arbitrage route, your chances improve, but it's still far from guaranteed. And actually, I put together this final graph showing showing the percentage of days where each sticker could actually be flipped for a profit. In other words, if you bought a sticker on any given day and sold it as soon as it became tradable a week later, what were the odds of making money? On average, the answer is pretty much a coin flip. A few stickers performed better, like the Donkin Falcons Gold. Others, like Wicadia, had just a single day where buying and selling a week later would likely have been profitable. You can tilt the odds in your favor by buying early after release and trying to predict which teams or players will perform well. But even then, it's a difficult game to play. At the end of the day, this system wasn't designed to make us money. It was designed to make Valve money while supporting the esports scene. It'll be interesting to see how the format evolves for future majors. If you have any thoughts on the results or think I've missed something, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching and take care.